Welcome in to Center Court, presented by AutoTrader.com. I'm Kristen Ledlow, joined by my podcast partner, Candace Parker. It's here.
Hey!
And Kobe's on it. We'll get to more of that later. Anyway. And of course, you know, the Hall of Famer, Isiah Thomas.
Hey.
How many days are we into the NBA season now? I mean, like a week?
Week?
Yeah.
Your opening week highlights.
I mean, there's been a few that have happened, including I was in attendance last night at the Atlanta Hawks game when Embiid provided a great highlight. But so far, Kyrie Irving has been a human highlight. This season, I mean, he's the ISO king, averaging 37 points per game, 6 assists. I mean, one-on-one versus anybody in the half court, I have to take Kyrie. Unfortunately, the Nets aren't successful when he scores over 30, as they are 1-2. And the one game they did win, he had 26. But as a fan of the game, I enjoy watching him dance on the opponent.
Right.
Oh, he's sweet when he dribbling. Yes. Nobody better.
Done a little something like that your day.
But his just seems to be a little different.
Yeah?
And maybe a little better. I mean, because his is kind of like, he's doing a lot of freaky stuff with that ball. I mean, it looks good.
I like that, though, because you don't hand out compliments without them being earned. What about your opening week highlight?
Well, my opening week highlight, believe it or not, was the LA Clippers beating the Lakers.
Ooh.
And when I say that is because it was such a shock to see how organized and just how well prepared the Clippers were. I mean, Lou's always going to be Lou. He came out, did his thing. Kawhi was just like a silent assassin. We saw him do it in Toronto. We saw him do it in San Antonio. But then it was kind of like, okay, now I'm going to shut everybody down defensively. And when you got LeBron James and Anthony Davis out on the court in the fourth quarter, and they only combined for 2 points between them, I mean, so I come from the background of defense wins championships. And when you shut a team down, and we shut them down defensively, okay, we love the offense, but the defense that was shown against those two, first game of the season, in LA, that I was like, wow, that's my highlight.
Well, it's kind of a light night in the NBA tonight with just 3 games, but we have 2 of them. The Hawks and Heat are coming up at the bottom of the hour. Our second game features the Grizz in LA to take on the Lakers. Dennis Scott is also in LA, where DZ, Southern Californians dealing with some pretty scary stuff.
Yeah, they really are, Kristen. The wildfires have gone crazy. So you talk to the locals, people are concerned. Some people are displaced from their homes. They're trying to figure out what's coming next. Some people have lost electricity, being able to get to the local grocery store, things of that nature. They're fighting through it. And along with the Lakers, LeBron James, he was displaced. And LeBron James, once again, being one of our great athletes, Isiah, you'll love this. He sent over, obviously it's Taco Tuesday, but he sent over tacos to base camp for all the first responders for getting to his house and getting to other locals around California and trying to get the best they can.
That was awesome. I mean, you know, when you talk about LeBron and, you know, just he always seems to understand the moment, 3D, not just in terms of thinking about himself, but also thinking about others, and in terms of how can he help others, how can he, you know, make it easier for everyone else. So, you know, kudos to him. And so, what are we looking at tonight for him?
Well, he said his first alarm clock went off at 1:30 in the morning, so he hadn't got a great sleep yet. So he talked about taking a nap before the game, try to get back to his normal routine, which will be different because he had to check into a hotel. Isiah, he tried his first 3 hotels. They were booked. It was the 4th hotel, finally had enough space to fit his wife and his 3 children.
Wow, Dennis, thank you so much. Great work, as always. We're looking forward to your coverage out there in LA. We're going to let you go.
All right, thanks, guys.
How much fun, though, is it that now this battle for LA is not just for LA, but potentially for an NBA title?
I mean, it would be a dream come true in Los Angeles to have the Western Conference Finals go through Los Angeles, and it's a huge possibility.
Yeah.
I was in attendance at the game, Clippers versus Lakers, and you spoke about Kawhi's defense. You spoke about that, but it was Kawhi having a silent 30. And honestly, up until the fourth quarter, these two teams played pretty even. You're looking at Kuzma being out, dynamic scorer. You're looking at Paul George on the bench, dynamic scorer. These two teams haven't even scratched the surface of what they're capable of being come March and April.
Yeah. You know what I'm really looking forward to is Kawhi has found a way to kill you in 5 minutes.
Yep.
You know, it's like some players, they try to kill you for 40, 48 minutes, you know. And Kawhi has found a way to look at the game and say, okay, these are the 5 minutes where I'm just going to slice you up. And it's boom, 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 boom. Like you say, he had a quiet 30, but it was, 4 or 5 minutes where he just seems like he was everywhere doing everything. And that's all that was needed to be done.
Kawhi, regardless of whether or not he plays in all 82 games, will be in that MVP conversation all season long. LeBron and AD, a couple of guys who have regularly been in it the last, 6, 7, 8,
9,
like
17 years.
Yeah.
Right. How do you think that they've done so far together on the floor?
I don't think they've figured it out yet when you talk about LeBron and AD. And I think there's some coaching that's going to have to be done from a system standpoint, and also where do we play these guys, and how do we figure out how are they most effective, not just for themselves, but for the team in general. And I don't think they figured it out yet. And to me, that was the thing that was so impressive about the Clippers. It seemed like Doc Rivers has already figured out, this is where Kawhi's at, this is where I'm going to use Lou at. Paul is not here yet, but, the Clippers seemed like they were just so much more ready to play. They looked like they were in mid-season form, and I think the Lakers still have some figuring out to do in terms of how these two are going to play together and fit together.
I don't want to jump on the bandwagon because I do believe, there's been 3 games played in this season.
And because you're the most recent champion in LA, so everybody else can fall in line.
Exactly.
And kind of one of the
Exactly,
biggest
Kristen.
superstars.
Exactly, Kristen.
Just saying.
But I think it is important for a superstar. The team reflects their personality. As we saw last year with the Toronto Raptors. They were in Game 6 and they were calm playing in that game. They really mirrored what Kawhi did. And I think Kawhi has come and put his personality standprint on this team, on this Clipper team.
Yeah.
And you can see it, and it's defensive minded. So a team that is defensive minded from the beginning, you're able to get easy looks. You're in transition a lot of the time. And when you have Patrick Beverley,
come on,
you
now.
have Kawhi Leonard and Paul George is coming back.
Yeah.
That's an advantage in itself.
Yeah.
Patrick Beverley diving on the floor for loose balls like Game 1. You're like, what?
Okay, here's the problem, guys. I keep trying to get you to talk about the Lakers, and you keep taking it back towards the Clippers direction. Are you already ready to hand them the key to the city?
No, I am not. I do think that the Lakers have a lot more figuring out to do. I don't know if I necessarily like LeBron exerting as much effort as he does, bringing the ball up. I like him at point guard. He's going to be your point guard in the fourth quarter. But the other minutes, I do think they need to utilize him better. AD, where are they going to get him the ball to be successful in the fourth quarter when teams pack it in? Danny Green, it's great that he scored 30, but I don't know. I think teams are going to take him scoring 30 and shutting those other two guys down.
Yeah, and I think why we're kind of going back to the Clippers is because we're still kind of unsure what we're going to see with the Lakers, because offensively it hasn't developed yet.
Well, as we head to break, remember you can find us on social media tonight using the hashtag Center Court. That's not all. In addition to Center Court, we have special front court and back court games.
That allowed me to see that you can play that way. And then I get to the NBA and I meet him. And the first time we playing against him, I'll never forget. You walk out on the court, you shaking everybody's hand, and I walk up to Tiny to shake his hand, and he was like, and I was like, oh, okay. And I didn't do nothing. I just kept going. And then I remember I scored, and he came back and he scored. As soon as he scored, I took the ball. They took the ball out of bounds, handed it to me, and I turned around and I was like, oh, that's Tiny Archibald. He was standing right there, and Tiny didn't look tiny. Tiny didn't look so tiny to me. I was like, actually, Tiny a little bigger than me. Like, what? It's like, and I'll never forget that game. He gave me 24 the first time I played against him. He was 12 for 14, gave me 24 points, never shook my hand, never smiled, never said a word. And And he is a guy that I've always admired, always wanted to be like on and off the court in terms of style of play, getting to the basket. You saw me doing a lot of his moves between the legs, going to the basket, up and under. I mean, I stole a lot of it from him because we always imitate people before us. But the thing that Tiny gave us as small point guards, he was a scoring point guard, and he was the first pioneer to allow us to imagine that, okay, we don't just have to pass it and go stand in the corner.
You can score.
So I thank Tiny Archibald for that. And then he went back and got his master's and his PhD and inspired me to go back to school and get my master's. So Tiny Archibald is a real teacher, on and off the court, champion. I mean, kudos to you, Tiny.
Well,
and thank you.
That's very special to hear that it was the player, but it was also the person that inspired you.
Absolutely.
Man, well, thanks for a little lesson.
And Tiny ain't
I like
Tiny.
that OG lesson.
Yeah, Tiny ain't Tiny. I just call him Nate now.
Oh my goodness. Back to Kristen, take it from here.
Or maybe we'll just call you Tinier. Thanks, Zeke. Thanks, Candace. Remember, though.
Little Tiny. Call me Little Tiny.
That is Mike. Check out our new podcast with Candace and myself, our first guest, a real OG. Look at this. It's Kobe Bryant. Take a listen. Well, for the first time since you retired, the people of LA feel that kind of excitement surrounding the game of basketball again. What are your thoughts on this battle for LA, not only being a battle for LA, but perhaps for an NBA title?
Man, it's awesome. Like, man, you kidding me? Like, this is, as a competitor, it'd be a competitor's dream to participate in something like that. I mean, it's fun, and I'm enjoying it just like everybody else.
Okay, let me ask you one question. If you're guaranteed a ring to come back and play,
would you? Yeah,
would you come back and play?
What,
you're
if you
guaranteed
knew,
a win.
You knew you'd bring another. Okay.
No. I like my rings the hard way. Like, I like fighting through them and earning them that way. I don't like to jump into the easier route. Like, so I wouldn't take it.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised either. So you think what's
surprised.
going on perhaps in LA now, the easier route?
Well, I mean, you can pick a team in LA. It seems like it'd be the easier route.
Yeah.
Both teams are great, but you got some great teams around the league too that are playing well. But what I'm more fascinated to see is how the coaching brings this collection of talent together. Like, what system are they using? How are they developing throughout the course of the season? Because on paper, you have a lot of teams that look good and a lot of duos that look good. But now, systematically, you got to figure out how you're going to execute as a team, what's your personality going to be as a team, and how you're going to progress through that throughout the course of the year, how you're going to manage injuries, and all those kind of variables that can win or lose you a championship.
Who are some of the players now that you've targeted as worth your time, worth your investment, guys that you want to invest in moving forward?
Honestly, it's a lot of players that just have a curiosity about the game. Like, I enjoy talking to players that are really passionate about playing. Kyrie is probably the one I talk to the most. He's truly become like a little brother to me. So I've kind of speak more to him than probably most other players. But I'm generally an open book and, available to share whatever insight I have.
Center Court.
Right here on NBA TV, and that guy, Jimmy Butler, is making his Heat debut. Congratulations on the birth of your child, Jimmy. That one's at 7:30. After that, it's going to be Memphis and LA. Dwight Howard having played really well for them recently, which comes as a surprise to many people. This, though, should probably come as a surprise to Candace. I did a little research before the...
You did some research, Kristen? You did some research? You did some research? That's what you did?
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Guys, it was in confidence.
Oh, no.
Podcast that we went to prom together.
Oh, no.
That was prom... Wait, what year was that? Like,
Okay, first of all, now you're talking about my age.
No,
now, Kristen.
Oh, no.
Now you're asking me what year I
was
prom.
like talking about the fashion.
It was 2004. We were both McDonald's All-Americans. We went to prom. Yeah.
You do know when you shared this with me in confidence.
It was in confidence
like
on our podcast.
The microphones were on the podcast.
You got to tune in to Let Low and Parker to get the backstory.
For more
Let
of
Low
this.
and Parker.
Can I live? Can I live, TK? Can I live?
Looked like you was living.
Zeke and Candace are on the court now, and they can teach you.
Well, unlike everybody else before, 2004, bigs can handle the ball.
Oh, yes, they can.
And so I will be starting off with my first drill.
Okay.
It's not just the front court, back court. Like, front court can handle a little bit.
Oh, y'all handle it better
we
now.
Can handle it. And Giannis
we
is-
inside in the post.
Okay, yeah, you guys are posting up.
Yes.
Point guards are. But honestly, I was taught two ways to go behind the back.
Right.
It was the initial stop behind the back to get space to get into your shot, versus in transition, it's more the wrap around to get out into space.
Right. And which did you prefer to use?
I use the stop a lot because
Yeah.
with little guards, when you wrap it around, the dribble tends to be a little bit higher, and so they're able to kind of get underneath. I've noticed watching Ben Simmons, he uses that wrap around in transition a lot just to get ahead of steam because he's tough to guard.
Yeah, and I was taught, to stop behind your back, mainly in half court, and you use the wrap around, in full court when you getting speed.
Yeah.
Magic was great at that. Like, he would be looking at you, and then he would wrapping around, and he'd still be looking over there.
Yep.
And you would be looking over there, and all of a sudden he'll throw it over there. But I would say, for me, the easiest way to start when I was younger was to, just play with it.
Yeah.
Just sit down and play with it. And of course, right, you're going to lose it a couple of times.
Yeah.
So then you go and find it, because practice makes perfect. So you have to get down and play with it, and then you can stop looking at it. And then when you lose it, then you go back, find it, pick it up, and practice again. And just keep practicing. And once you practice, the better you get, and then it becomes natural. And then you can be like Candace Parker.